Hey there, it's Dave Altavilla for Hot Hardware here, back with the Alienware 13R3, the newly redesigned 13-inch gaming notebook from Dell's Alienware division. And I have it flipped on its lid here. Some of you have asked some questions about how serviceable this machine is. So now you are looking at the bottom of the machine. I have it resting comfortably here on a nice microfiber cloth to protect the lid. And you're looking at the bottom here where we can actually get access to various components in the system to service it. So we're going to commit an alien autopsy of sorts. Stick with us. So first things first, I am safely grounded and discharged. I'm working in a relatively static-free environment. That's definitely something you want to do when you get into the sensitive components of a notebook or any computer for that matter. Make sure you are grounded and statically discharged. You might want to touch a little bit of metal, what have you, before you go at this thing. I have taken the liberty of loosening the screws here on the bottom of the machine, the bottom plate, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws to be exact. There's actually a couple of screws up here in the front edge of the device as well, but I don't think you need those to release the lid, which actually sort of press fits into the screw sockets. At least that's how they seem to. Once you back them out, they reach a certain point, and then you have to kind of pull them out of the socket. I've already done that just to make it easy for the camera here. But here we are removing the entire bottom plate of the machine, and voila, you are looking at the insides of our alien beast. All right, so here we are a little bit closer up with the internals of the Alienware 13R3, and you can see there's various different component areas here to consider. You've got, of course, the fan and heat pipe assembly that cool both the CPU and GPU. Not accessible here in this current setup. There's actually a few more screws that we could probably pull to pull this faceplate off the bottom as well, but Alienware gives you access to the critical components that you might want to upgrade or interchange or what have you for things like RAM and hard drive and even the Wi-Fi radio. But taking a look at things here, Alienware does a very good job of calling out something that's important, and that is disabling the battery or power to the components before you actually get your hands in there and start mucking around with them. So here we are in this little press fit cable area here, and Alienware again very specific about release bat cable first. That's sound advice. Thanks, Team Alienware, we appreciate that. We've even got positive and negative indication here for which way this cable actually snaps back into its spot, but we're going to go ahead and pull this tab. Hopefully it's going to be nice and gentle, but I don't know, it's a little bit of work for sure. Let's wiggle it out. There we go. We are released. Now the battery is disconnected from the system, and we can go ahead and work on the components, take a look at them, what have you, to service the machine. All right, so here we are, drop down a little bit closer into the memory slot area. These are actually DDR4 SODIMMs for small outline DIMMs for notebooks, and specifically we've got two 8 gig sticks. These are PC4 2400 megahertz variety, and we just pull these little retention clips back here a little bit, and this baby should slide up. Yep, there we go. So wiggle that guy out, and you can see this is one of the 8 gig sticks. You could go in here and drop in a pair of 16 gig sticks, actually, SODIMM sticks if you wanted to. I believe it does take up to 32 gigabytes of RAM. And here we are spun around to the M2 slots, the solid state drive slots in this machine. Incidentally, it is a solid state drive affair only with the Alienware 13. It does not support standard 2.5-inch spinning media, but just these M2 sticks. So you've actually got two M2 slots here. The first one is populated. There's a second spare. So you can install up to a 1 terabyte M2 SSD here and a second 1 terabyte SSD secondary volume here. I don't believe RAID is supported. I'll report back in the comments. It does not look to be a configuration from Alienware, though technically the platform should support it. So at any rate, we've got two available M2 slots here, and you just pull this screw, which I'll show you momentarily, to remove a stick if you'd like to change it out. All right, so I've gone ahead and pulled that screw out, and now I've released the M2 stick. It's a PCI Express NVMe SSD from Toshiba. I just pull it out from the slot there, and voila, the solid state drive is now removed. This is again a 512 gig Toshiba NVMe PCI Express SSD. You can install up to a 1 terabyte SSD in here as well, and it does take standard M2 SATA 6 gigabit SATA sticks if you want to go with slower, lower cost memory. Maybe you could do that for the bulk drive as a secondary volume here in the second slot. I'd advise sticking with PCI Express NVMe SSDs for the boot volume for sure, because they're just so much faster. Specifically this stick, we actually already measured it in Atto, is pushing about a gig per second for writes and about 1.8 gigs a second of read performance. So very good performance from that Toshiba PCI Express NVMe SSD. And finally, before we wrap it up, we want to call out one more part in the system here in the third slot. This is your 802.11ac wireless NIC, network interface card, plugged in here. You can see it's got a couple of wires and a retention screw mechanism as well. But this is the killer 1535 wireless gaming NIC for low ping times and fast responsiveness during your gaming events. So that's plugged in right there. We can get access to it if you want to, but it's a very good NIC, very powerful NIC, has lots of prioritization and quality of service targeted specifically for gamers. So good stuff. Killer Networks 1535 in that slot. So that's it. You've just witnessed our alien autopsy of the Alienware 13R3. As you can see, very easy to get access to all of the major component areas in the system, from RAM to storage to even the wireless radio. And Alienware is very good about calling out the steps and the areas in which you can access the machine and how you should do it, especially disconnecting that power supply. So make sure you stop by HotHardware for the full review with all of our benchmark data that will be coming online in the next couple of days. I'm going to plug my battery cable back in. But this is Dave Altavilla for HotHardware with the Alienware 13R3 and our Alienware Alien Autopsy, now immortalized on the interwebs. Thanks for stopping by.